Hi guys. Good morning. I don't feel that well. I was gonna go to small claims court today, but it's been pretty bad the past few days. I have my calendar here and my coffee. We'll do a little bit of a morning routine again. Oh, it looks like Omni has passed good cause where I'm really good cause. I'm really glad to see that because when this started, I was a victim of that too. I mean, people were just evicting me, calling the police, making up a bunch of stuff. And of course, when you've been sexually assaulted by a police officer who's now the police chief, you're not going to get anywhere because of course, according to these people, they're not men. Okay, you know, every other profession, and I understand some of the complexities of that, some of it. Of course, I'm not in law enforcement, but you are a person, you are a man outside of your profession, okay? And you do have a life, and you do interact with women, and you have the emotional skill set also. You could have a lot of credentials, but that doesn't mean that you have the emotional maturity or some of the other things that we're all dealing with, which is consent, which is some of these other matters that globally we're dealing with. Well, anyway, this man sets this party up at his parents' house with his parents, no less, sexually assaults me, and then continues to harass me with my ex-husband. And my ex-husband stood there, and that's why I blacked out. Okay, he's standing there holding me, my feet are dangling, I go unconscious, and I blacked out and told them, oh, thank you for the nice party, it was so nice. His father pleaded with me to come to this party because for years they told me I'd kept my ex-husband away and I didn't. I constantly invited them. This was the game as soon as I got married because for some reason I find out now, well, I do know the reason is because I was a prostitute according to these people. Yeah, I guess if you're, you have certain things in your life or you were born, welfare, underclass, or, your mother's involved with MAPS, I guess that makes you a prostitute as you get older. I didn't know. So, you could leave comments on my channel or they continue to get these people to leave hate stuff. But anyway, to get back on the subject, when you've been sexually assaulted by one of these people, of course, they're immune. Yeah, they're immune because for some reason being a police officer, puts aside the fact that you're a man, a man like all other men, okay, in our community that could be inappropriate, that could not understand consent. And in my case, I had prior trauma. I had wanted to be involved with horses. I loved horses as a little girl. And I had been picked up on a horse when my mother, and I'll tell you that story another time, but anyway, being picked up in the air, we're not supposed to do that. And then my dad had also picked me up in the air, but it wasn't really inappropriate. He just picked me up in the air. He was a successful musician, and it was the last time I saw him. And I had told myself, gee, I was going to sing like my dad. And when my mother moved in with her new boyfriend, this man repeatedly told me that I couldn't sing. I was never going to sing. And this is what happens when these people pretend to be father figures. So that's another area too with these maps that target children. They get involved with children, whether it's through the school, whether it's through, police officers, take me home or go tell a police officer. And I'm not, because they have this program, that they'll, with missing children. And I don't want to go too far into that because, I'm not anti-law enforcement, but they are men and women we're dealing with. And then we need to get involved with misogynist women. We need to cover that too in one of these videos. So I got a lot to unwrap here. I don't feel well. I was going to go to small claims court today because I have to deal with this other landlord trying to get $1,175 back. And this crackhead was standing there on the stoop when I pulled up the U-Haul, nervous, bugging me for the $2,400. Oh yeah, where's the $2,400? I said it was a bank. He wanted a bank transfer. I gave him the bank transfer. The bank was very good about it. It said 3 to 5 days. This was a Friday. Here it was just what, Monday, I think it was. This guy's like, he probably had it up his nose before he got out of Albany, and he was horrible. So again, we're going to have to unpack this stuff with landlords around here because it's atrocious the way they're treating people. And they trash these places and then they expect people to live in them. And we'll get into some of that because I've seen pictures of these people where they're blamed tenants. I don't know if it's all the tenants because you move into these places, not even being professionally clean. They're filthy, dirty, things aren't done. They show you, and we'll get into the photography part too. because my cousin, yeah, she does this kind of photography, this kind of, I don't want to veer too much off there, but oh, it looks great in the picture, and then you move in and it's disgusting. Which is why I never get into that type of photography. There's a filter for every kind of sleazy thing they do to clean it up. So when you suffer a sexual assault, which this case it wasn't about, because I did report it, so the statute of limitations, their little games with the statute of limitations isn't going to work because I did report it, because he wrote up his whole dissertation about how I was harassing him, even though I've known his parents. They were friends with my mother's boyfriend, Bud, who is a map, and we used to go to the radio station where his parents managed. So if it happens to be a police officer that does something inappropriate, well, good luck. This is the type of harassment you continue to suffer. So it was the smells, you're drugged, you're in pain because of whatever the burning device is, the constant harassment all night to keep you awake, the threats outside my window that I'm going to be confined, and who better to confine you but a police officer, okay? So we will continue because I was gonna stop. I moved into this new apartment. It's a cute studio. I thought we could move ahead. I thought I could put this behind me. I was more than willing to do that. They got everything. They destroyed my career, my business. His mother couldn't wait because for years, she was one of those vicious, mean girls that attacked me every time I saw her. But she wouldn't wear bras, and she'd have her voluptuous tits all over my ex-husband, but that was okay all the time. And I could go on in that kind of vein because I wasn't allowed to flirt. I wasn't allowed to talk to men because these women would constantly accuse me of effing everybody. You know, that was the backstory because, my parents were divorced and I didn't have everything look so perfect like them. And then here we are 20 years later, well, 30 now because it's been a decade of the harassment. And certainly his mother, she pretends she's in law enforcement by going around with him and dressing up and spying on me. Yeah, we'll get into that. But this is what the Mean Girl Club does. So we'll have to get talking about misogynist women. And I'm a little over, a lot to unpack. I don't feel well, a lot going on, and this is what these people continue to do. So I'm sitting here with my coffee, trying to parse it into my journal like I always did. And this is why he stole 20 years of my journal, because I wrote extensively throughout my marriage trying to figure out what these people were doing. And now I have some idea. So we'll continue. Be safe, guys.